From the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
If you've been arrested for DUI, you need a team of attorneys into whom you can place your trust. Call Reynolds Defense Firm today online at reynoldsdefensefirm.com. First on The Fan, losers of each of their last 4 games. The Trailblazers road trip continues tomorrow in Atlanta against the Hawks. Portland now 32-43 on the season. 7 games remaining. They are 4.5 games out of the final play-in spot and a half game ahead of the Spurs for the 8th worst record in the league. A rare Monday TNT doubleheader in the association. First up, Game 2 of the post-Taylor Jenkins era for the Grizzlies as they host the Celtics. That's a 4:30 tip. The Celtics are 5-point favorites. And in the nightcap, a little after 7 o'clock, the Rockets and Lakers from Crypto.com Arena in L.A. The Lakers are 4-point favorites. Stanford announced this morning they've hired former NFL head coach Frank Reich as their interim head coach for the 2025 season, after which the school will find a replacement for Troy Taylor. Taylor let go last week amid findings he had bullied female athletic department staffers. Reich coached new Cardinal GM Andrew Luck with the Indianapolis Colts in his final season. And after a 4-game split with the A's, the Mariners welcoming in the Tigers for a 3-game set. Emerson Hancock on the bump for Seattle. Jackson Jobe for Detroit. 6:40 first pitch on Root Sports. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work. Insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. This is Danny and Dusty.
Meringatang is going to be a thing.
You're not coining anything new.
With Danny Meringue and Dusty, the Fan Man Hera.
I'll throw some monkey sounds in there and call it good.
The old Danny Meringue pie.
Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and 1080.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome.
The Fan.
Good afternoon. Hey, welcome in. Happy Monday. Thanks for being a part of our day, everybody. The band is back together again. Rust is back.
It's been a while.
How you doing?
Hey, I'm here.
So great to have you back.
I hope you all had a shitty day.
Wow. Yeah, thanks, Brian Kelly. The Brian Kelly of this program, Jeff Rust in there.
You caught on.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Can't have interns anymore because of Rust.
Huh?
Scissor lift.
Oh, scissor lifts. Yes, yeah.
Golly.
Minerals, vitamins.
Vitamins.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. We are all back, and for everybody who is a parent out there, well, I guess this week is Washington's spring break, correct?
Oh, is it?
I think it is.
I believe so, yes.
I do
It
not
is.
have children, so
Yeah.
I am patently unaware when spring break exists.
All of the Oregonians, congratulations, parents. You guys have made it. Washington, buckle up. It's a week. It's a week, folks. I dropped my kids off at school, and usually there's like the mad dash where it's like everybody's late. And
First Monday back.
7:15 doors open. There was a line of vehicles of people just waiting to
shove their kids
shove
out.
their kids back out the door.
Go learn.
What are you, too good for your home?
Out of here. Get back to school. And I feel that because we got there at 7:15 this morning. We were there. We were ready to go. It was like, all right, school's back. We out.
Let's go. Deuces.
So everybody made it through another spring break. Spring break seems to be the hard one. That's the hard one.
Is it? What's harder about it over as opposed to winter break?
It's like a week, and winter break, you got things to look forward to, and you always have, the dangling carrots of, hey, you better watch yourself. Big man's coming soon.
9 months removed from Christmas, you don't get that carrot.
Right now,
You gotta
it's
plan
just
activities.
like, I got plenty of time to get on that nice list. It's a week, and I'm a boundaries push here. So it's a little bit different. And the weather isn't good like summer, so you're not like just go
Pushing them
outside.
Yeah.
Go not be here. So it's a little bit more difficult. So congrats to everybody that made it through. We've all made it. I went out to your neck of the woods this weekend,
You
Danny.
did?
Yeah.
Like 4 blocks.
No way.
Just like everything else in Newburgh.
I did send him a picture for how far away he actually was. He was not far away.
It's not. No. It was. Let's see. Bring that up here. I was 1.8 miles from Danny's house. Yeah.
Those are some big ass blocks.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're pretty sizable blocks.
They are.
Pretty sizable blocks, but it wasn't that far.
No. It's 2 turns.
No, I went to the Newburgh Drive-In, which is a absolute gem.
It is.
In our area. We went on Saturday and the drive-in is open. It wasn't raining.
So was this the first weekend?
No idea, but it was awesome.
Because I can always tell Friday or Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They have the when they do open it up at about 6. Well, this time of year probably a little earlier, like 5 o'clock. Between 5 and 6, the lane pulling in, going I guess northbound on 99 away from Newburgh towards Sherwood, starts to back up and fill all the way into the Burger King around the corner.
It goes a long.
You got to get your spot, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, you're pushed all the way in the back.
That place is awesome. Because it is so different than anything else. So for our family of 4, Russ, you go to the movies quite often, right?
Often enough, yeah. We hit not this past weekend, but the previous. I took the girls to go see Snow White.
All right, family of 4. How much to go and see a film, family of 4?
Well, let's see. We did a matinee, but it was also the RPX, so that was like $18 a pop for the tickets for the 3 of us. With the convenience charges, that was like $60-some, and then you hit the
convenience
concessions
charges, which are so great.
Yeah.
So you're getting out of there for $100.
Yeah, they're going to charge me for them not having to do anything to give me tickets.
Yeah,
because it's more convenient. And then of course you got your concessions.
Yeah, concessions too. Yeah.
So we got a large popcorn, a couple large sodas, some a couple of candies, and that's another $60.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in. $40.
Yeah, that's not too shabby.
And you bring your own snacks.
Yeah, that. Well, I mean, we got snacks there. Popcorn. We got popcorn there. Yeah, we got popcorn there. But yeah, you can bring your own. You can bring your own stuff.
Look, we're past.
That's crazy.
It's awesome. It's a great deal. Like we're with a post nostalgic era, as it were, like things of the past that you don't really do. The drive-in's still dope. Like if you've got Newburgh's great for this because that's what everybody has. The backed-in pickup truck, and you throw like the air mattress in the truck bed. Look, man, you have a good old time.
Yeah, we had the Explorer. We did the lift gate up. Yeah. Boom, they got the little ramp so you could just like angle your car up. Dude, it was great. Yeah. It was awesome. And I was sitting there and I was like, hey, bud, bring the football. And he's like, why? We're going to a movie. I'm like, we got time, buddy. You go out, throw the football around.
You got to get there
bit.
early to make sure you get your spot.
Get your spot. Yeah. It was awesome. Drive-in, 10 out of 10. And you said you took kids to go Snow White. That's the movie we saw. I will say this about that movie. It is getting dragged.
Careful.
It is getting dragged.
Probably because Rachel Zegler looks like Lord Farquaad.
That movie is really damn good.
I thought it was good.
It is really good. Like it's a different take on Snow White.
I never would.
Which that alone I don't like.
No,
I don't like that the whole
and I understand
Disney weirdness thing.
Her, Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, they kind of really made this hard push that it was going to be so different. It wasn't.
I mean, it was a lot more of a musical than I had anticipated. Didn't see that coming.
I mean, it's a Disney movie.
Yeah. Well, I know, but like
the live action, they tend to get away from
in the first one, in the OG, you had the Whistle While You Work and you had the Hi Ho.
Hi Ho, yeah.
And, that was
they added a couple more songs. It was a good movie, though. Yeah. I don't understand why people hate, well, I do, because they want to take their political takes and throw it on a movie, which you can.
I will say, though,
it's stupid. Good movie.
I never would have thought I'd say this before, but Gal Gadot dragged this movie down. Not good.
Yeah, well, I mean, she was the evil queen.
Well, no, but I mean, like just the performance and
I thought she was really good at her part in that you walked out of there going, dude, she sucked.
I didn't. Well, yes, she did suck, but not for the reasons they want her to suck in the movie.
I just found it interesting that Gal Gadot, one of the most physically attractive humans on the face of the planet, was somehow jealous of Lord Farquaad. That was something I couldn't really. I saw one of the snippets on social media, and I was like,
I don't.
I'm having trouble with this.
I don't think that. I think that is the point of her getting that upset.
Oh yeah,
Is that she is beautiful, but to be the fairest of them all,
yeah, no.
it takes more.
But it was just like, can we not get the supermodel to be that one?
No, she's too old, man.
Yeah.
Too old. Too old. This isn't Beverly Hills 90210, man.
My 13-year-old 7th grader.
Yeah.
All too aware of the original Snow White and her apparent age in the first movie.
Yeah.
You know, in the story and whatnot. And she leans over to me at one point and she goes, "Dad, this movie isn't going to have the pedophilia in it, is it?"
Yeah, that's what happens when these things are written a long time ago.
Boy,
the
you are
age at which they were married, a little bit younger.
Yeah.
Not great, Bob. Not great.
It was just part of the gig back then. And then it's like, why is he named Dopey if he can't talk? It's like, well, there used to be deaf, blind. They used to call it deaf, blind, and dumb if somebody couldn't speak.
Yes.
So they softened it with
Yeah.
Dopey.
It's better
And
than
it's
dummy.
like, boy. All right. Tough ones to explain there.
Yeah.
Those ones are So
it's easier to explain than the Disney Black Crows.
yeah, Dumbo. Yeah,
Every time those ones came out, I'm like, oh boy, those are bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that was too hard to handle now.
Peter Pan with
nothing?
the Peter Pan with the
We're going to fight the
Native
engines.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
Yeah.
Those ones are. Look, it was a different time.
Yeah.
It was a different time.
I
But
remember my other daughter, she asked me when the first Peter Pan movie was made. I was like, "Oh, it's really old." And she goes, "What, like the 1990s?" It's like that
Every
hurts.
time one of these college teams does like some social media thing of like, what year do you have to be born in to be considered old? And they're all like, I don't know, 1990. And I'm just like, ugh.
Okay, so I looked this up because at the beginning of the NCAA tournament, I was like, is this our first tournament without a person born in the 90s?
Ooh.
Boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, there's a couple old
Well,
dudes in
COVID
there.
years, right?
Oh,
Yeah. There's
dude,
some
we
old
got
dudes
some
hanging on.
doctors playing in college tournament. I was like, yeah, it's gotta be done soon. No, not even the Final Four. Not like. And
How
then
many
you
Cam
look,
McCormicks do we have in college
you look at
basketball?
like the first, like there's guys in like born in '97 that are playing. Like
Broom's 99, isn't he?
I think Broom is 99. I think but yeah, look at that Auburn team is old according to
Broom's 2002.
2002. All
thought he was-
right. Hey, he's not that
I
old.
thought he was older than that.
He's 23.
Baker Mazzaro's 2000.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
So,
All
yeah.
right. Okay. Well, there we go. We're all back. We're getting this thing going. We had an incredible weekend of basketball. The NCAA tournament was great. We got history that was made. Actually, a lot of history was made across the NCAA tournament this weekend. We had the Blazers continuing their road trip. They knew the assignment last night against the Knicks. They sure did. I was sitting there like, they're not going to do it, are they? Are they going to do this? No, fourth quarter. That's right. We got to get Con Knipple. We got to get Con Knipple to Rip City.
I actually
All right.
had somebody who on Twitter the other day who was like, he's not athletic enough to play in the NBA. And I was like, what basketball are you
We're
watching?
here. I'm here for Con Knipple to Portland.
Look,
If they're not going to get Cooper Flag,
their quota's low, man.
no, I just think if from guys that are in that range that they'll be in, yeah,
6'7" dude
Shooter.
that can shoot. The thing is,
they need a shooter. Blazers need a shooter.
he's not just Kevin Huerter or Kyle Korver or like your insert, movement white guy shooter. He's got some wiggle off the bounce. Like he's got some plus creation stuff, and he's 6'7". It's like at worst he's probably like better Kevin Huerter. Like
Yeah, Ronald Threesley.
that's a good player.
Sure, that is a good player.
Like
It's a good player.
I hesitate to be like, oh, he could be an all-star.
Yeah.
Because you never know with kids, but I mean, he's like in the sense of what Cooper Flagg has been, where like he's answered every question, Con has kind of done the same thing, and it's
At this
pretty
point,
impressive.
At this point, we know it'll be Janai Broom, though. Guy falls down, gets 3 injuries on one fall. That guy is a blazer.
I couldn't believe
Might trade
it.
up to get him.
Sprained knee, ankle, and elbow all in one fall. And if you watch it, it's like watching a baby deer fall. It's
dude.
You just see joints just wiggle, and you're like, oh God.
That guy is a blazer if I've ever seen one.
I mean, he went to the sideline and told the sideline he was done, and then came back out.
Let's go.
Tough dude.
All right, let's get to it. We also got some baseball that we got to talk about today. We have torpedo bats. That's a thing.
Cheaters.
Whoa. And then we got I got some baseball nuggies because it was a wild weekend of the first weekend of baseball. A lot of history being made. And let me check the notes here. None of it good. Nope. None of it good outside of torpedo bats. Outside of torpedo bats. And then we have the NFL has got their coaches, I don't know, their coaches meetings that they got going on. We have the coaches picture. And
Kevin O'Connell's
rule
everywhere.
changes. Is he?
He's done like 8 interviews.
Isn't that wasn't his name Kevin O'Connell too?
O'Connor, maybe?
Oh, okay. Yeah. E from Entourage.
Yeah. No, I'm picking what you put down. No, but he's done like it's a little bit. He doth protest too much as it pertains to his quarterback.
Yeah. Oh, and the Pistons are officially back.
Oh boy,
they are
back.
way back.
And also, boy, do I not like Nas Reed.
Oh,
picking on rookies.
Okay. All right, we'll talk about it.
Yep.
Where we got to start though, the Final Four is set, and boy Almighty, the 1 seeds flex their muscles. Danny Dusty on the Fan. The Final Four is set. An incredible weekend of basketball in the NCAA tournament, as now the matchups are set for Saturday in San Antone. The last time we had 4 number 1 seeds all make the Final Four, 2008. 2008.
It's the only other time it's happened.
In San Antonio. Whoa.
Pretty good.
Whoa, dude.
Pretty good.
All those guys in the basement at the Alamo Dome are wearing their tinfoil hats.
That's right. They were all on Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yeah. Oh, God. Well, I mean, you had 2 really good games.
Yeah.
One absolute shelling and one team kind of embarrassing the other. But I think you covered the gamut of what you would expect from an Elite Eight weekend.
I think that every single one of those games, though, was intriguing in its own
Yes.
right. I mean, Duke absolutely dominated Alabama. And Alabama, remember, coming off a Sweet 16 performance where they were historic from beyond the arc.
There was bound to be some aggression, but not. That was the most shocking thing I think I've seen this tournament, was how a team led by freshmen beat the living crap out of a loaded, senior-heavy Alabama team.
And we've talked about this about Duke, their length, their size. It is impressive. And you saw exactly why teams are terrified to play this Duke team, because, look, those 3 freshmen, they ran Alabama off the 3-point line, but there's nowhere to go because they're big down low and there's somebody waiting, and then they're going to run you down from behind. And if the first guy doesn't get it, the second guy is going to come and swat it off the backboard. It was one of the most impressive defensive complete performances that we've seen until Sunday came, and Houston did it to Tennessee.
Yeah.
I mean, but that Duke game and the fact that Cooper Flagg does not need to be Superman every game. He doesn't need to be the number 1 overall pick in dominant fashion every single game.
It's hilarious that 16-9-3-1 is like the bad game from Cooper Flagg.
But this is the thing. There's nothing bad about it.
No.
It's that he just doesn't have to backpack a team.
No.
And what we saw from, Alabama was that if you took Sears away, Sears has to backpack them.
Yeah, because Aiden Holloway, he can get hot. LeBaron Philon can get hot. But
Grant Nelson, we've seen Grant Nelson do it before, but it starts with Mark Sears, and he was frustrated all game long.
Yeah, and it was crazy because I really want to drive home just how insane the defensive performance was, because you just do not see this from teams not named, Boeheim, Syracuse, where the defensive structure is so rigid and so drilled into your head that you see near flawless execution over the course of a season and then in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
This is 3 freshmen in Cooper Flagg, Con Knipple, and Common Malawak who are anchoring, not just being a part of the defense, anchoring a defense, switching everything. So you're not just parking Malawach at the rim. You're not just using Cooper Flagg as a weak side helper. Like, Mark Sears was being guarded by Malawach and Cooper Flagg, and Mark Sears is 5'10".
Yeah.
It's just like, and then you look at Aiden Holloway, again, is listed at 6'1", who's 5'10". LeBaron Philon's the only guard on that team with, not short guy size. And with all of a sudden, you're being guarded by 6'7" Con Knipple and 6'10" Cooper Flagg and Common Malawach. You're just like, if you get by, then what?
That game highlighted so well why we see guys thrive in college, and you're like, why isn't he the same player in the NBA, right?
The G League's filled with them.
Mark Sears is a prime example of this, and I'm not saying Mark Sears will have no career in the NBA.
It's just tough, man.
But we've said this Duke team is built like an NBA roster, and that's what an NBA roster looks like, with the amount of length that is relentless. They just throw big body after big body at you.
Their smallest starter is 6'6".
And unless you can create against that size, it's tough, man. And we saw that with Alabama. They had a fantastic year, and we thought that was going to be the great game. The game before that, though, was a phenomenal game where Florida had to erase a 9-point deficit in the final 3 minutes of the game. I think it was 2 minutes and 50 seconds. They were down by 9.
That Walter Clayton guy, pretty good.
Yeah. I think that Kevin Willard was right when he said what I'm worried about when he was talking about Maryland. I'm worried about how we're going to slow down Walter Clayton Jr. They did it. Maryland did. Texas Tech did not down that stretch. And look, Walter Clayton made 8 of the final 12 points for Florida in big three. But this was the impressive part was when you're down 9, things got to break your way.
Yep.
And Grant McCaslin in Texas Tech are going to be having nightmares over free throws, man.
Yeah.
Missing the front end of 1-and-1s.
Yeah,
And then
JT Toppin, man, he just had it was brutal. I mean, he
immediately going back in a 3, right?
I mean, just not only the missed free throws, but he left so many points on the board. He missed, there was one point in time he was like, was it 4 of 14 from 2? Like, and that's what he does. Like everything, like he's got like a little runner push shot, like he's got really good touch. It disappeared. Everything hit the back of the rim and came out. Every like put back rimmed out. Like it was just like something was the wires got crossed, and it was just you're just watching it unfold, and you're like, oh no.
And I think we get kind of when we watch NBA games, which we do out here so often, right? It's you got to get it to 10 within 4 minutes, right? And in the college game, it's like you got to get it to 10 within 8 minutes
because there's so few possessions.
And the game is slower. Your shooters are not as prolific as they are in the NBA. I don't think it's getting credit how impressive erasing a 9-point hole with 2:50 to go is for the Florida Gators. And not to just erase it, but to win by 5.
I mean, yeah, it's 2 guys. It was Houck and Walter Clayton Jr. Like Florida, like did not. I mean, they've got Richard, they've got Condon, they've got Elijah Martin. I mean, those guys weren't great for them. It was basically 2 guys who got it done.
And I think that the story coming out of that game is Florida is not invincible. They are vulnerable. I look at it and I say, no, that Florida team is really damn good.
They're
because
tested.
if you can win that way without everybody playing well, and those 2 guys just sit there and say, let's go, fellas. That's not going to happen in back-to-back games. They've shown that. In this tournament, they've shown that. So Florida heading into the Final Four with a matchup against SEC rival Auburn, sign me up. Duke, both those teams, Florida and Duke, prove their number 1 overall rankings, or overall number 1 seeds. On Sunday, we saw that Auburn team has got some grit to them, and the Houston Cougars, they are suffocating. Suffocating. We'll get to the Sunday batch coming up after us with SportsCenter.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Trailblazers have now lost each of their last 4 games. The road trip continues tomorrow in Atlanta against the Hawks. Portland 32-43 on the season. 7 games now remaining on the season. They are 4.5 games out of the final play-in spot and a half game ahead of the Spurs for the 8th worst record in the league. Stanford announced this morning they've hired former NFL head coach Frank Reich as their interim head coach for the 2025 season, after which the school will find a permanent replacement for Troy Taylor. Taylor let go last week amid findings he had bullied female athletic department staffers. Reich coached new Cardinal GM Andrew Luck with the Indianapolis Colts in his final season in a Colts uniform. After a 4-game split with the A's, the Mariners welcome in the Tigers for a 3-game set. Emerson Hancock, starting for Seattle. Jackson Jobe for Detroit. 6:40 first pitch on Root Sports. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Russ from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
More, please. Golf in the Northwest with Jason Swigart is back. Saturdays at 8 a.m. before the Sinner and the Saint on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Duke and Florida punched their tickets to the Final Four on Saturday. Yesterday, we had a double dip of games that they kind of went the same way as the first day did, where you had a tight one in the beginning and then a blowout to follow. Auburn and Michigan State, that game, it was everything I kind of expected it to. Yeah. Tom Izzo dirtying and mucking that thing up, and the talent, the maturity, the age of Auburn prevailing in the end, and despite a major injury to injuries to Janai Broome, which all eyes are on that game, on that injury heading into the Final Four as they get ready for a meeting with Florida, because him limited might have been able to get past Michigan State. Getting past Florida is going to be a lot tougher.
Yeah, so you said the age. So the average age of Auburn's starting five is 23.2 years old. I'll say again, the average age of the starting lineup for Auburn is 23.2. The Oklahoma City Thunder is 24.4.
All right.
That is an old bleeping team.
Wow.
Average age is, again, 22 is your usual graduation year.
Yeah, it's 4 years in college.
The average age is 23.2.
Wow. What happens what happens if you take like Caruso off of the Thunder? Because
this is a starting five.
Oh, starting five. Starting five. Okay. Well, who's the oldest starter?
Probably Lou.
Lou Dort is 25.
Yeah. I would imagine Lou.
SGA is 26. Hartenstein is 26.
Yeah.
Wow.
God, Shea's really 26?
He is 26 years old.
God, I guess he has been in the league 7 years.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Holy smokes. Wow. That
doesn't feel like he's been in the league that long.
No.
He still feels he's the one who actually feels like Jason Tatum, who's still young. Like SGA is still very young in my head.
Yeah. But without Broome, Auburn might be in trouble. And I don't know he's got 6 days.
Yeah, and the camera caught him telling the training staff. So for those that didn't see it, Janai Broome landed on his left leg off balance. His knee buckled. He landed on his right leg. His ankle rolled underneath him, and then he tried to brace himself because his knee buckled and his ankle rolled. He landed straight-armed on his right elbow, and his elbow went the wrong way.
Yeah.
The camera caught him telling the training staff, "I'm done."
Blazers.
And unbelievably, he walked off under his own power and looked to be kind of okay. And I was like, how is this possible?
Mm-hmm.
Ends up coming back out of the game. Everybody watching that game thought he was done. And you're like, okay, can Auburn hold on? Can Auburn hold on? And they held it to a stalemate. I'm going to say it was 2-2 for like 4 minutes. It was like, well, they might be able to hold on because Broome got injured later in the game. But Broome comes back out with an elbow brace that you're just sitting there going, okay, there's no way he can move his arm.
Yeah, he's going to be a rush end.
Yeah, I mean, the way he wrapped it, like it was almost, his elbow was almost at 90 degrees, probably 70 degrees, where it was just flexed enough where the blood flow could get to his hand.
But a shot, though.
Yeah, it was crazy. And, I mean, Broome's actual impact in the game was nuts. He finishes the game with 25 points, 14 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a block in 29 minutes. He was 10 of 13. Yeesh. I mean, he was an efficiency monster. The only other player to score in double figures was Todd Pettiford off the bench with 10.
Wow.
They are lost without him because Baker Mazzara is, I mean, you want to talk about a guy with just wild swings, not only in productivity, but like he's as likely to have like a 20-point game as he is to fight somebody and get thrown out. He is, you just spin the wheel every game and like, where's it going to land today?
Yeah.
And you just never know. And it was a bad game for him. Didn't really have much other than a little bit of creativity. But without Broome, man, they're lost. And if he's under 80% for Florida, they got no shot.
And that's going to be, we're looking at the initial betting line. Florida is 2.5-point favorites. So they're saying, all right, he's going to play, but I have a big feeling that injury is going to be playing a factor on that line jostling as we get closer and closer to Saturday. The other game yesterday was an absolute boat race with the Houston Cougars dismantling Tennessee. Oof. And it was a record-setting day. The Tennessee Volunteers missed 14 three-pointers to start the game. They were 0 of 14 against Houston, and the Cougars held the Volunteers to just 15 points in the first half, which is the lowest point total for a 1 or 2 seed in the NCAA tournament's history for a half of basketball. 15.
Yikes, Doug.
They trailed 34-15 at the break, and as much as it was not being able to hit water from a boat for the Vols, Houston's defense...
Suffocating.
Kelvin Sampson, he is a damn fine basketball coach.
Did you hear what Kelvin Sampson said about his team and the Houston program?
No.
We don't go out and recruit kids. We study kids. We evaluate kids. Then we recruit.
Oh.
We want culture. If we don't care about your talent, if your culture does not matter. And what he is saying is, if you are not about this life, we don't want you. It's very Tom Crean at Marquette-esque.
Damn, I feel like their social media manager took that exact same energy, though, because after the game, I absolutely love that whoever runs their socials threw this up there. After their Sweet 16 matchup, against Purdue, a Purdue fan had tweeted before the game, "There ain't no way we are losing to a guy named Kevin Sampson." The social media manager for Houston basketball put out a graphic that with that tweet, and it said, "It's Kelvin Sampson," and he handed your team the L that you forgot.
Mm-hmm. Take that L with you.
Take that L with you. I am here.
It's a spicy meatball.
Hey, if that's what they're building in Houston, I'm here for all of it.
Kelvin Sampson, you do not question what you are getting from that team. You're going to have one of the best defenses in the country. They are going to work. They're going to beat the living death out of you.
Yep.
And if they have enough offense, they're scary.
Yeah.
But the problem is the offense can wane for periods. But defensively, them and Duke, they're the two best defensive teams in the country.
Look, when is the last time that we've had a Final Four where every coach in the Final Four can win their first national title?
It's probably been a while.
I think it might have been a couple of years ago.
I say Elite Eight. That's probably where it was.
Huh?
I was thinking Elite Eight, where it's a lot less common.
I bet it was that 2023 Final Four, because we had some weird ones in there.
With Florida.
It UConn, San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, and Miami. So yeah. 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Long time.
Yeah.
Long time. But
that was also a crazy Final Four.
That was a crazy Final Four. We have 4 1 seeds. None of these coaches have won a championship before. You have Todd Golden at Florida, who that Bruce Pearl hired him away from Columbia when he was an up-and-coming assistant to join his staff down at Auburn. And then you have John Shire, who can win a national title at the school he won a national title
Which
for.
would be the first time it's ever happened. Which is kind of crazy to think about, that nobody has gone on from one of the prestigious programs and then also come back to coach that. Obviously,
like Kentucky,
UCLA, Michigan. Obviously, Michigan tried it with Juwan, and then North Carolina tried it with.
But Juwan never won one at Michigan.
Oh, that's right.
Either.
That's right. You didn't win one. Yeah.
Chris Webber, timeout. And then you have 2 coaches who are old heads that have been phenomenal coaches throughout their entire careers, but trouble has followed them wherever they have gone. Kelvin Sampson, obviously at Oklahoma and Indiana. You have Bruce Pearl at the University of Tennessee, which when you look at the things that both of those men did,
they just got caught for doing what everybody else was doing.
Well, and they're legal now.
Yeah.
Bruce Pearl was a barbecue for his players at his home that he hosted. Well, that was what initially got him.
Got him, yeah.
Right? But by all accounts, people in the coaching circles adore, respect, and go to for advice
Those two
watch
guys.
both Kelvin Sampson and Bruce Pearl on how to coach basketball.
Great coaches.
I think it's a really cool mix that we have in the Final Four of young coaches that could be the next faces and names of college basketball, and then two guys who they've been hunting for this chance and this opportunity. In the Houston basketball program, I was watching a video. Jim Nance was just caught in the concourse, and he's a Houston alum. And he was talking about, he's like, it's just amazing to see the program because we went decades without even getting to the tournament. Like from 87, there was decades before they even got to the NCAA tournament again.
Phi Slamma Jamma, they had some dark days. Now they are firmly back. They're one of the top 5 programs in the country.
Yeah.
Year in, year out.
It's a damn good Final Four. Really good teams. Obviously, 4-1 seeds, only the second time we've ever seen it. And I know that the big conversation is this the world of college hoops that we are going to be living with now, with no more Cinderellas now that we have NIL and the power conferences and the transfer portal and the disparity. Every time you see an up-and-comer at a smaller program, they just, boom, get plucked by somebody else. We will have Cinderellas. I think that this is still an outlier. The fact that it's only happened 2 times ever is pretty telling. I'm not looking at this quite yet and saying, yeah, the sweeping judgment is going to be 1 seeds going through to a Final Four is going to be what we see, right? Because look, if anything, we're going to see, I think 1 through 5, you're going to have a lot more opportunities. Hell, we're going to see 11 seeds who get a chance to get into the tournament making runs. I think maybe the Florida Atlantics are going to be hard to find again.
Well, I mean,
Florida Gulf Coast going to be hard to find. George Mason.
How many players in the transfer portal?
No.
1,641.
Yeah, it happens, man.
1,641.
Yeah.
That is insane.
And look, you don't have to look very hard to find that there's several people in the recruiting world that will say basically how a lot of these schools are recruiting now is we'll get you out of the portal, man.
Yeah.
Not good enough now, we'll get you.
Yeah, unless you're Cooper Flag, unless you're Con Knipple, unless you're a high 4-star or better, you're not getting to these top programs. You're going to have to go to the smaller schools, which honestly might help the smaller schools in the long run.
Yeah.
Because you might get a guy who stays.
Yeah. You may find it every now and then. All right. 503-864-6326. That is the fan text line. Text us, and you can be a part of the show as well. We'll get to some of your feedback as the show goes on. But the Final Four is set this Saturday. San Antonio, Texas. All 1 seeds. You got Auburn, Florida at 3:09, and then you got the Duke Blue Devils taking on the Houston Cougars at 5:49. We got 2 SEC, an ACC, and a Big 12. That's why I was kind of hoping Michigan State won, is that so we could have 4 different conferences in the Final Four. I thought that would have been cool, but I'm here for it. 4 best teams heading into the tournament are the 4 standing at the end. Yeah. And that inherently means that people that don't really like follow college basketball are the ones that are going to win your pool.
Yes.
You know? Like my son is dominating.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, all he had was 1 seeds. He's got Duke beating Florida in the championship game.
That's a good call.
You know?
It's a good call.
Yeah, he had like a 13 of 16 in the Sweet 16, 7 of 8 in the Elite 8, and now he's got all Final Four. Little turd. Love him. All right. Let's get to, hey, we have my bad, hand up in the NFL. Danny and Dusty on the Fan. Hey, one more of these Final Four notes and nuggies that we have heading into this weekend. Have you seen the KenPom stat about this Final Four?
Which one?
So the KenPom rating has been being recorded since 1996-97 season. And it's one of the metrics that they use for the NCAA tournament. And KenPom put out the highest rated KenPom teams ever. Okay? The 10 highest teams from 96-97 season all the way to today. 4 of the top 10 will be playing in this Final Four. Auburn is 10th all time at plus 35.2. I guess they're tied for 9th with the 07-08 Kansas team.
Remind me, that team any good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Florida is 8th at plus 36. Houston is 6th all time at plus 36.5. And the Duke Blue Devils are the second highest rated KenPom team of all time at plus 39.6. Only second to the 98-99 Duke team that still feels they got hosed by the officials.
Yes.
This is truly a historic
group
Final Four that we are seeing of the dominance that they have put together throughout the course of the entire season. That's pretty crazy.
That's the thing about this Duke team that has been so incredible to me is that the teams that are also on that list, they aren't loaded with freshmen.
No.
They're heavily upper class laden rosters.
Yeah.
Like that 07 Kansas team, it's not a bunch of kids.
Mm-mm.
That's the thing that's terrifying about this Duke team is that they're this good right now. Now they're going to lose 3 of them.
To put it into perspective, last year's UConn team returned a lot from the defending national champion, the back-to-back UConn team. They are 7th all-time in the KenPom rating. So there's 2 teams in this Final Four, both Duke and Houston, that, according to the KenPom ratings, are better than last year's UConn team. This team is insanely good.
Yes. The production is... They're not just beating teams; they're beating the brakes off teams.
Yeah,
that's the crazy. Like that Arizona game. If you don't have an incredible performance from Caleb Love, it's another Duke 20-point win. That's the thing. Is like what Duke has done to teams this year. It's not just beat them; it's absolutely annihilate them. It's quite literally historic.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying about this Final Four here. All right, and by the way, the combined records from all of these teams is 135-16 this year.
Good gravy.
That seems good. And the team with the worst overall record is the number 1 overall seed in the tournament, Auburn, with 5 losses, 32-5.
God. And they played in the toughest conference in basketball.
Yep. And if you're wondering about SEC dominance, they may not be as dominant in the world of football anymore. If you look at the college baseball odds right now, the SEC reigns supreme to dominate the College World Series odds. If you look at the odds-on leaders for the SEC, the top 4 are from the SEC. LSU, Tennessee, Georgia, Arkansas have the 4 best odds to win the College World Series in baseball. If you're wondering, Oregon is 7th, 16-1. That's surprising.
There you go. No, that's those aren't bad odds.
Oregon State is 9th best odds. Ducks 16-1 odds. Oregon State 20-1 odds.
Oregon, baseball state. Some are saying
it's obviously because of the weather.
Yeah.
You know, the weather breeds great baseball.
Definitely don't get rained out of any games here.
No. Well, the weather does play a big role. Pat Casey building that Oregon State team, bring him indoors, and they had to work on the fundamentals. Look at that. All right, let's get to hour number 2. We will have the oops, my bad, from the world of the National Football League coming up in hour number 2, where we also need to get to baseball nuggies and torpedo bats.
Yeah.
Because that's a thing.
That's
now.
a thing.
Torpedo bats are 100% a thing.
MIT professors.
Michigan professors. Because Michigan in the rules never are skirting that line. But where we got to start, Mike Tomlin spoke today. Are the Steelers out on Aaron Rodgers? Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, losers of each of their last 4 games. The Trailblazers road trip continues tomorrow in Atlanta against the Hawks. Blazers now 32-43 on the season. With 7 games remaining, they are 4.5 games out of the final play-in spot and a half game ahead of the Spurs for the 8th worst record in the league. ESPN Shams Charania reporting Sun star Kevin Durant expected to miss at least a week with a left ankle sprain through the team's 3-game road trip. The Suns are 1.5 games out of the play-in with the league's toughest remaining schedule. Stanford announced this morning they've hired former NFL head coach Frank Reich as their interim head coach for the 2025 season, after which the school will find a replacement for Troy Taylor. Taylor was let go last week amid findings he had bullied female athletic department staffers. Reich previously coached new Cardinal GM Andrew Luck with the Indianapolis Colts in Luck's final season. After a 4-game split with the Athletics, the Mariners welcoming the Tigers for a 3-game set. Emerson Hancock starting for Seattle, Jackson Jobe for Detroit, 6:40 first pitch on Root Sports. We got a handful of games underway in the Bigs. Bottom of the 6th in Chicago. Perhaps something special brewing as the White Sox lead the Twins 9-0. Bottom 6 in Milwaukee. The Royals with a 4-0 lead over the Brew Crew. The Orioles lead the Red Sox 4-3. That is the top of the 5th in Baltimore. And bottom of the 4th in Philadelphia, the Rockies and Phillies are scoreless. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
The inside story on the Blazers, Ducks, and Beavers. Danny and Dusty. Weekdays noon to 3 on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Portland, if you've ever wondered where to get your Blazers, Ducks, and Beavs, it's right here on the airwaves of 1080. 1080 The Fan with Danny and Dusty. It's Danny and Dusty and Rust from noon till 3.
Hour number 2, Danny and Dusty with you on this Monday afternoon. Thanks for being a part of our day, letting us be a part of yours on 1080 AM, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, twitch.tv/1080 AM The Fan, or youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan. Party on, party people on the YouTube stream.
Indeed.
Let's go. Or. Whoa.
Well, you hit the or pretty hard.
Oh, all right, yeah. Hey, NFL is having their meetings down in Florida, where Florida Man stuff is happening with the NFL coaches.
Always.
Look, you can tell they're having a good time, these coaches, when they all get together. Because have you seen some of these these interviews that the coaches have to do, where they just sit in like a meeting room of a big hotel, and they have a table with a bunch of microphones in front of them? They are sweating bullets.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know that sweat. That's a hard night of drinking.
It's a hard night sweat, yeah.
followed up by, oh boy, I got to actually do some work.
I mean, did you see the coach's photo?
I did.
There were some looks on some faces.
Well, there's always looks on faces, but I usually chalk it up to them being outside because they usually just put them like looking directly into the sun. They didn't do that this year, but what happened was they put it inside, and it's still the same looks on all their faces.
There were some guys in there that were fighting to do the hands on thighs.
Yeah.
Put your posture up, like, oh God.
Well, the one guy who is the best description of what I just said of just sitting around a gaggle of reporters and sweating bullets, Mike Tomlin, head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had his availability, and he was asked about the looming Aaron Rodgers decision on where he's going to play this next season. And Mike Tomlin went on quite the rant about it. It was awkward at times, but the Steelers are definitely not out of the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes.
He's a free agent. As you guys know, he came to visit last Friday. We had a really productive day. He's been in this thing a long time. I've been in this thing a long time. But it's no substitute for, intimacy and spending time together and getting to know one another in a non-competitive environment. And so that was really good. But I don't have any new updates in terms of where the process is. We'll see where it leads us.
How unsettling is it, or is it, to not have this situation?
I'm really comfortable with being unsettled this time of year, to be quite honest with you. It's about talent acquisition. We got two main means of acquiring talent: free agency and the draft. We multitask. We do both. Those needs that we fulfill in free agency, we do so there, and when we don't, we fulfill it in the draft. And so I just learned over the years that this time of year, although day to day it can be somewhat uncomfortable, it is a process.
So they're obviously not out on Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, definitely not.
As he's dragging them along, and they shouldn't be when you have Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson as your two options at quarterback.
They know they're up against it.
I saw a report today from, I think it was Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network, who said, they would be comfortable with Mason Rudolph for week 1.
Yeah, you got to throw that out there.
Look, there's two options that the Steelers are rolling with, and it is they sign Aaron Rodgers, and they end up having Rodgers start week 1 Now, one of the big issues apparently is that Rodgers still wants to do his thing. He doesn't want to acquiesce to Arthur Smith's offense and play in a system and a style that he has not played in his entire career, which would be a big change for him. Because look at the weapons that they have. They have DK Metcalf. They have George Pickens. They have Pat Freiermuth. Their weapons are built for a run first, play action, take some shots downfield offense that Arthur Smith does run. That's not the Aaron Rodgers style.
No.
Aaron Rodgers is a West Coast variance quarterback who wants to check at the line of scrimmage and wants to do his own thing. Now, if Rodgers says, all right, my best shot to win in my final years is to go to a place like Pittsburgh, then play that style that Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin want to play, protect the defense, and you're going to win football games in Pittsburgh.
I think if it does happen, there's going to be a meeting point, as it were. I don't think it's going to be fully Arthur Smith, and it's definitely not going to be fully Aaron Rodgers. But who's been better at the line of scrimmage than Aaron Rodgers over their career?
Brady and Manning.
I mean, it's the list is very short.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say maybe Andrew Luck in his period. That's it. And if you're not at least incorporating that and understanding that, that's a fault.
There's got to be some give, but it's also this is a rental, and you know the time is going to be short, and you've got to have your identity and your offense
100%.
in Pittsburgh. But you either go with Rodgers or sitting at 21st overall, you have to draft a quarterback there. You can try to move up in the draft and get a quarterback, but those are the two options really that the Pittsburgh Steelers have.
With Mason Rudolph.
You probably will have to if you draft a quarterback at 21, but that's only a short term, and then you're going to hand the reins over eventually. But it's not to have Mason Rudolph start the whole year.
God, no.
Yeah, maybe the first couple weeks of the season, then you say, all right, young buck, you've been here long enough, let's turn it over to you. But that also depends on if Jackson Dart goes early and he goes in the top 10 like some are saying now.
Because now you're looking at Tyler Shuck or Quinn Ewers.
Tyler Shuck could work in that style, in that system. Big arm. You can push the ball downfield and
also
run
what
play
Pittsburgh
action.
likes.
But
Big kid, big arm.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like, hey, we got it with Ben, and we can just keep going, right?
Hey, Ben, tell Tyler how you packed on 40 pounds from Miami of Ohio. Beer and brats. That's how we did it, baby. But they're not out of this Aaron Rodgers game. This Aaron Rodgers path that he's taking, though, as much as he has pushed against his whole entire career of following Brett Favre, boy, it is Brett Favre.
It's remarkably similar.
And it was a sad exit for Favre.
Yep.
And I hope it's not for Rodgers because he looked good at the end of last year.
He did.
But, you're 41 years old, man.
And because Brady did this, because Manning did this, it's like, that's the norm. No, man, quarterbacks are usually cooked by about 32. That's just, we've been distorted by greatness of longevity over the last 15 years.
For sure.
That's not the norm. And look, Aaron's still better than most quarterbacks.
Yeah, he is.
Does he still have the same zip that he had on the ball? No. Does he still have the same mobility? No.
Hell no.
But are you looking around the NFL and be like, oh, yeah, no, there's 20 quarterbacks that are better than Aaron? No, there's not.
We have a mea culpa out of the AFC North. Jimmy Haslam, owner of the Cleveland Browns.
Only took him 3 years.
He has admitted that the organization is still recovering from a big swing and a miss. And no, it's not on any of the quarterbacks that they've drafted. It's on the trade for Deshaun Watson.
Yikes, Doug.
You think? He did say, hold me and D accountable. That's his wife. Why do you have I know his wife is also the co-owner of the team. You don't drag her into this. It's all been said. Like, Jimmy Haslam was the guy who was like, hey, I want Deshaun Watson. Let's make this thing happen and get this thing done. How do you hold ownership accountable?
The only real way is not showing up.
Don't go.
Yeah.
Don't go. And this is such a messy situation with Deshaun Watson. They brought in a scumbag, and the results have not played out how anybody thought they would. Even if you don't like Deshaun Watson, you didn't think it would be this. That
you didn't think he would
happened.
no longer be a functional quarterback
with now 2 ruptured Achilles
and a shoulder,
and a shoulder, and a guy that for a team that is fully committed to him.
Mm-hmm.
If this offseason they can't get out of the Deshaun Watson contract, this is going to go down Herschel Walker bad trade. Like one of the monumental
setting, because if they didn't have the anchor
trades.
that is Deshaun Watson, think about how many different paths they could go down.
A lot right now. Well, Aaron Rodgers would be a great fit with Kevin Stefanski in a system that is similar to what Aaron Rodgers likes to do. And then you could also, Aaron wouldn't like this, but at number 2 overall, draft his heir apparent and stash him right behind. And hell, they still might go draft Shedeur Sanders at number 2 and Deshaun. We don't even care. He's not playing this year. No. He's never going to play again. But they want to have him medically retired. And I think there's a valid case outside of his anchor of a contract. It's the injuries.
It's two Achilles and a shoulder. Like,
there is a reason that he could be medically retired and we never see him again. That would be the right thing. I think it'd be pretty easy to do.
Take your money and go away, Deshaun.
But he would get a settlement. He wouldn't get all of the money that's guaranteed to him.
I think it's usually around 80%.
But he would get a big chunk of it, and he can go off and do whatever the hell he's going to do for the rest of his life.
Except for what you were doing before. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Not at all.
You won't have the NFL to protect you either.
No, just don't. Just move away.
Yeah.
Far away.
Mm-hmm.
Just go ahead and do that. All right. You want to get into torpedo bats?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's nerd out.
Let's do torpedo bats. It's a big thing.
It is.
You think they're cheaters?
Nah, it's just fun to say because it's the Yankees.
Danny's calling the Yankees cheaters.
It's fun.
All right. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Goodbye.
Inside my shell, I wait and bleed.
Torpedo bats.
Math and science.
Those took over the internet over the weekend after an offensive explosion by the New York Yankees that saw them put up 20 runs and 12 runs in consecutive days.
Yeah, 15 home runs will do that.
Yeah, against the Milwaukee Brewers. And it was something that Michael Kay, he brought up on the broadcast, and everybody was like, drop that! The New York Yankees have a handful, not everybody.
No, not everyone.
A handful of players are using a new bat. And it's something very unique to the New York Yankees because a man by the name of Aaron Lenhart, who everybody calls Lenny, came up with. Now, Aaron Lenhart is a man who went to MIT, studied physics at MIT, and then went on to be a professor for 9 years at the University of Michigan in their physics department. He said, you know what, screw this. I want to do what real nerds do, baseball. So he went and he's been like a consultant for the New York Yankees. And 2 years ago, he went to Yankees hitters and asked them, hey, what do you need to perform better at the plate?
Because they had their worst average as a team in over 50 years.
And after talking to several players on the Yankees roster, he said, all right, barrel up the ball easier. How do we do that? And so he came up with what he calls the bowling pin bat. And if you look at it, others call it the torpedo bat because it looks like a torpedo, but it does look like a bowling pin.
It does.
Attached to the end of a baseball bat, where it goes from skinny at the handle, gets fat, and then gets skinny again.
Tapers again
at the end of the barrel of the bat. The whole idea behind this was he said he wanted to find a way to you only have so much weight in a bat you can have.
Yes.
Because if you make 42 inches is as long as a bat can get in Major League Baseball by rule. Okay. You can only be 2.61 inches round at the thickest part of the bat. And so it just became where do we put the weight to optimize swing speed and where you can barrel up the bat.
And the math behind this and why it's important, particularly for the Yankees. Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, two of the highest barrel frequencies in baseball. And when I say the two of the highest, the four highest are Judge, Ohtani, Juan Soto, and Stanton. Okay. They are orders of magnitude higher than everyone else. Like if you're talking about a percentage per plate appearance, Judge is number one at almost 15% of his plate appearances. He barrels a ball. That's nuts.
That's pretty good.
The best guys in baseball are around 8%. Like there is a seismic jump when you get to the very top. And it's like, oh, you have two of the best barrel consistency guys. What can we do to not only improve their consistency because they're barreling the ball so much? If the barrel area is bigger for guys who barrel the ball, well, then maybe little dribblers that they hit when they don't barrel it, maybe they go a little bit further. But the ones that they do barrel it and don't get necessarily the 1 or 2 mile an hour to make it leave the park, now it leaves the park.
And so what he did was he took the skinnier part near the label of the bat where we see broken bats get hit off the label. They put that skinny part at the end of the bat and move the barrel down closer to the hands. Okay, so you can barrel it up easier. The New York Yankees this year hit a major league record 15 home runs in their 3-game set against the Brewers.
Yeah, 5 home runs a game. Pretty good.
Okay. Aaron Judge, who you mentioned, is a guy that has great barrel numbers as it is. He does not use one of these bats. But 9 of those 15 came from guys that do.
Including Stanton.
Jazz Chisholm hit 3. Anthony Volpe hit 2. Austin Wells hit 2. Cody Bellinger hit 1. And Paul Goldschmidt hit 1 using this new bat. So, with that said, everybody started freaking out. This is not fair. The Yankees are cheating.
It's math.
And if Danny says the Yankees are cheating, I obviously have to say, as an Astros fan, the Yankees, this is not cheating.
No,
you want some cheating.
It's not.
We can show you some cheating.
It's math. And it's an innovation that has it's not quite the 3-point shot in basketball, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Like you're fundamentally changing the physics You're changing the geometry, the literal math that occurs in baseball.
Yeah.
And the fact that we haven't done this, I think speaks to the old school mindedness of baseball. Like, well, why would we change anything? It's part of baseball. Baseball technology within the game, other than, balls and strikes and stuff like that, hasn't changed. Your mitt technology is still very much the same. Your baseball bat technology is still the same. Baseballs are, unless they're juicing them, is still the same. Like, that hasn't changed. But this is the first time since switching from ash to maple, the wood that you use, the fact that it took that long to be like, hey, what bat produces the most reverberation?
Right.
Like, that took so long to occur. It's kind of crazy in itself.
And this is kind of the same thing. We have this text on the fan text line. The torpedo bat should be banned because of how stupid it looks. I don't care if it would up my homers by 20. I'm swinging a normal bat. The same kind of deal with like the granny shot for bad free throw shooters, right? It's like, no, this will help you. And there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to be resistant to that change because it will feel different.
Yeah,
because the weight is completely different.
Yeah.
But what they're finding is that with that weight closer to your hands, you're also able to up your bat speed. And that's what all of these guys are finding, is that every single one of the Yankees players that's using this bat, their bat speed through the plate is faster.
Higher.
Now, that's important to talk about this change in the bats, because what have pitchers been doing?
Throwing harder.
They've been throwing harder and harder, and keeping up with it is the hardest thing. And this is, I thought that Ryan Jeffers, who plays for the Twins, he also uses one of these bats, okay? And he had a really good comment on this, a quote on this, where he said, there's new pitches getting invented every year.
Splinker.
We're just swinging the same broomstick we've swung for the last 100 years, right? Like, this innovation, it's well time to have
overdue.
This done. And we talk about the science in baseball and how it can be used. The greatest hitters in the history of baseball have always used science to kind of help them become better hitters. There's a story, I remember seeing this at the beginning of the year, and so I went back and I looked it up. There's a story about Ted Williams, right? When he was hitting, he got a letter in the mail saying, hey, your bats, just by being in the dugout, just by being in the clubhouse, are absorbing moisture, which means your bats are getting heavier. And there's a way that I can help you improve your bat speed. And so Ted Williams calls the person that wrote this letter.
A little humidor action.
It turned out that he called the father of this of a 14-year-old boy who was a science nerd, and the kid left his bat outside one night, and he's like, this is heavier, so he went and he weighed his bat, and his bat was actually heavier. So Ted Williams called the kid's dad, and the kid's dad's like, yeah, he's at school. You don't want to talk to me. You want to talk to him. Ted Williams brought the kid to Fenway Park and sat him down and had a conversation. They actually went through and weighed the bats. From that point on, Ted Williams would put his bat in a dryer and before games, and he would weigh his bat until it stopped getting lighter. And so Ted Williams would use a bat that was put in a dryer
that way it's consistent.
Over and over and over again. So he was using the lightest possible bat so he could get the bat through the zone, right? Now we fast forward, like, outside of that, and then you have going from ash to maple. Those are the bat innovations that we've had.
Yeah.
That's the list. So I'm for it. As pitchers are getting stronger, more velo, you're using more pitchers in a game, you're just seeing a bunch of guys throwing 95 and higher. I think it's well overdue. I will also caution this. Maybe, just maybe, we should look at the fact that when the Yankees put up 20, the wind was howling out of the ballpark, which is already a short porch to right field.
And they were raking to that short porch.
And maybe Nestor Cortez and the Milwaukee Brewers were throwing batting practice during that game.
There's
right?
a lot of meatballs down the middle.
Boy, maybe the Brewers just aren't very good.
Probably.
Because Ryan Jeffers, who had that quote, he's a Minnesota Twins player, he's using this bat. He is 1 for 8.
Maybe also the Yankees are good.
And yeah, this historic lineup that we were talking about that includes Aaron Judge, Paul Goldschmidt, Jazz Chisholm, Cody Bellinger, maybe they can just hit the ball really well. Like, I think there's a little bit of this bat technology is helping. I think we're going overboard a little bit in a hitters-friendly ballpark against a team that we don't know if the Brewers are good or not.
Yeah.
It sure didn't look like it from the pitches that I saw that were being deposited over the fence. I think a lot of teams would have hit home runs against them with wind at their back and the ball just flying out of the park.
Well, there's nothing like overreacting to a 4 or 5 game sample size in a 162 game season.
You definitely need to let the sample size play out, but everything here, the math is mathing very hard.
Yeah,
like
it is.
Very, very simply.
I think it's interesting to kind of keep track of and to watch as we go down further and further into the season. It's cool that it happened opening weekend, so over 162 games, we can see it.
What's interesting, the first thing I thought of was like, what's the quick counter to this? Pitching to the outside.
Yeah.
Because you have less of a sweet spot on the end of the bat now.
To that, though, you can crowd the plate more with the weight more at your hands.
Yeah. But again, if let's say all of baseball just starts picking up on this trend, like there's going to be some subtle changes to how pitchers pitch and how batters step into the box. And I think that's a good thing.
Can you pitch outside to Aaron Judge? The man is 6'8" and has got go-go gadget.
And he does,
arms.
if I'm not mistaken, I think he actually does use a 42-inch bat. I think it's a 40 or 42. He uses an enormous bat.
Well, yeah, I could see that happening. But if you're wondering if it is illegal, it is not. Completely legal, this bat.
Yeah, no, I mean, they had the boundaries that they needed to work within, and they did it.
Yeah. I'll be really interested to see how pitchers continue to react, because there was some complaining, but come on.
It's the Yankees.
The same pitchers that were using sticky tack, spider tack a couple of years ago were like, they're actually hitting the ball against us.
They tried to innovate.
Yeah. And if I'm a Mariners fan, dude, I'm GoFundMe. Get all those bats.
All of them.
Just send them all up to Seattle, because that will be the true test.
Yes. If they can do it there.
If the Seattle Mariners can hit the ball with the Torpedo bat, then, and by the way, Mariners, Torpedo, like you've got to use the Torpedo bat in Seattle. All right?
Come up with a new name for it.
Yeah.
like
No, it fits perfectly.
Trident.
Fits perfectly. Your Mariners, your seamen out there working the waves. Torpedoes.
There you go. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, coming up next, it's time for our worst day on the web, and we're going to go to the automotive world. There's a executive at Ford Motor Company that, for whatever reason, decided he was going to keep track of all of the weird little misspeaks as far as like colloquialisms, and everybody from the CEO of Ford Motor Company on down was up to task. We'll get to that next year. But first, here's the Big Kahuna Sports Center Update.
Hamburgers, the cornerstone of any nutritious breakfast.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Blazers have now lost each of their last 4 games. The road trip continues tomorrow in Atlanta against the Hawks. Portland 32-43 on the season. With only 7 games remaining, they are 4.5 games out of the final play-in spot and a half game ahead of the Spurs for the 8th worst record in the league. ESPN's Shams Charania reporting Sun star Kevin Durant expected to miss at least a week with a left ankle sprain. That'll be through the team's 3-game road trip. The Suns are a game and a half out of the final play-in with the league's toughest remaining schedule. Stanford announced this morning they have hired former NFL head coach Frank Reich as their interim head coach for the 2025 season, after which the school will find a replacement for Troy Taylor. Taylor let go last week amid findings he had bullied female athletic department staffers. Frank Reich previously coached new Cardinal GM Andrew Luck with the Indianapolis Colts in Luck's final season. And over in baseball, after a 4-game split with the A's, the Mariners welcoming in the Tigers for a 3-game set. Emerson Hancock on the bump for Seattle. Jackson Jobe for Detroit, 6:40 first pitch on Root Sports. A handful of games already going in the bigs. Top of the 9th in Chicago, and the White Sox cruising with a 9-0 lead. Bottom of the 7th in Milwaukee, and the Royals are blanking the Brew Crew 10-0. The Orioles leading the Red Sox 4-3. That's top 7 in Baltimore. And top of the 6th in Philadelphia. Somebody finally got on the board. The Rockies now with a 1-0 lead over the Phils. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Russ from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
Live, local, and free. No subscription required. Portland's sports leader is 1080 The Fan. It's time for today's worst day on the web. With Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Well, that sucks.
This is both a fun and mildly terrifying story in the sense that an employee at Ford, Mike O'Brien, started keeping tabs of executives' word flubs. Like things like putting your arms around it, but then also including put your arms and legs around it.
Well, I mean, putting your arms and legs around it, that's just a firmer grasp.
It sounds a little kinkier. But this started when a colleague blurted out, "Let's not reinvent the ocean."
Like, what? How do you step it up next? Like, put your arms and legs around it and call me daddy.
Yeah. Another one, I don't want to
It's the
sound
Yogi Berra Institute for dudes that can't talk good.
Yes, 100%. Here's another one. I don't want to sound like a broken drum here, but...
A broken drum?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Record.
But this
also doesn't work. Broken drum, like, it's still... we understand it.
But it's little flubs.
Yeah.
And he doesn't
I
know...
heard Dirt the other morning talking about being in the land of sugar combs and honey.
Yes, perfect. That's exactly where you'd end up on this. And he says he didn't know why he started doing this, but on a whiteboard one day, somebody said something, and in 2014, he just decided to call it out and put it up on the whiteboard.
Okay. You can put it on the board. Yes.
Basically, it wasn't started like mean. It was like, it's a joke kind of a deal. Well, there's now like 6 full whiteboards with these on.
Oh my goodness.
And it's company wide. And this is like the CEO of Ford Motor Company's on here twice for things that he said. They didn't specify what it was.
Oh, they quote him on there?
They
Like
quote,
put your name?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, they score you. But it became like this thing where like you were actively trying to avoid this. Like you didn't want to end up on this. It was like, you got to... Now,
is Mike O'Brien himself on this board?
I don't know. I didn't see that anywhere in here, but it's it appears that nobody is immune.
Yeah.
And Mike O'Brien, he is not a grammatician or like he reads and does crosswords, but this isn't like a English major or anything like that. This guy's not a freak about it. He's not out here.
It sounds like he is a freak about it.
Well, he's word policing, but in a funny way. You know what I mean? Like, and as people who talk for a living 3 hours a day, we are prone to plenty of these.
Absolutely.
I mean, our drop board is basically this.
Yeah, that is true. It happens.
And when you talk that much, and executives, boy, are they going to talk. But I started thinking about this. Is this okay? Because, like, part of me is like, oh, it's pretty funny. It's lighthearted, but also there's somebody in the office who's very clearly listening to everything everyone says and documenting it.
Well, I think this goes back to our last worst day on the web with the police chief and the cheeky shenanigans.
Mm-hmm. This is cheeky shenanigans.
He's not stabbing anybody downstairs with a hypodermic needle and being like, got you good. He's not spiking your coffee with Adderall and Viagra. He's just saying, hey, I'm going to keep track of this and have a little gotcha board here. 6 of them is aggressive. Like that is think of on 6 like full size like whiteboards on the wall.
Full on whiteboards.
That you can get a lot of them, and it has the quote, which can make it a little bit longer. But
he writes pretty small. So they are tabulated. So there's the whiteboards, but there's also an Excel spreadsheet or Google sheet, whatever your preference is for all of this. And there's like breakdowns to it. There's sports and exercise related, which here are some of them. We're really low on money right now. We're dancing on thin ice. We need to keep running in our swim lanes. I know these are swing for the moon opportunities, but I think we should pursue them. Swing for the moon as opposed to swing for the fences.
Yeah.
It's a little bit off.
But the moon's further.
It is.
You're not wrong, but it's a little bit different from your usual.
Yeah, that's
speech.
kind of like swing for the fences, and if we're going to shoot for the moon, if we miss, we're going to hit the stars. That whole thing.
It's a little bit of both in there. A little mixed metaphor. Body parts. We need to make sure dealers have some skin in the teeth.
I don't want skin on my teeth at all.
Also,
it's
no
Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, well, that's usually what it feels like the morning after a hard night of drinking.
Yes, exactly. Another one here. It's no skin.
What are you biting?
It's no skin on our back, as opposed to off our back. Which O'Brien appended in a little note, like it said, this sounds like a horrible medical condition.
It does.
Food-related ones, such as too many cooks in the soup, and read between the tea leaves.
Well, you can read between them too, I guess.
Animals comes in with the largest category with 80 entries. I'm not trying to beat a dead horse to death.
Okay, yeah.
We need to talk about the elephant in the closet. And one person had 3 duck-related violations alone.
Well, okay. Now, the elephant in the closet one, I mean, I don't know much about that elephant. Putting an elephant into a closet would be a very tough thing. It's smaller than a room. You notice it even more.
There is a repeat offender here.
I'd imagine.
The largest offender is one Mike Murphy, a longtime marketing manager who
Murph. There's no doubt he is called Murph.
He holds the top spot for board word offenses with 184 infractions to date.
And he's the marketing guy, so words are his thing. That's perfect.
He says, I also butcher the grammar and English language at times.
I will say that there will be somebody who is a shareholder of the Ford Motor Company that says this is an egregious misuse of company time.
Yeah. Well, here's what's actually interesting.
Imagine all the innovations that they could be making had Mike O'Brien not been tracking this data and putting it into a very detailed Excel spreadsheet.
To that point, the risk of getting flagged added to the pressure of presenting at meetings. All of a sudden, you'll hear a pen click and you're thinking, what did I just say that wasn't right? Often a board word would help diffuse an intense meeting.
I like this. I think that this is great. I don't think that there's anything wrong with this at all. I think Mike O'Brien is an innovator here.
Even better, there is you can appeal. Oh. There's a grievance process.
Okay. A kangaroo court.
Where he allows the person to argue their case before the entry is made. Murphy rarely wins in the appeal.
Murph. Come on, Murph.
One line he tried to get taken back. He's going to be so happy he'll be like a canary in a coal mine.
Yeah, he got it right, the canary in a coal mine, but you're never happy.
You're never happy about it because you're the one being sent down to the die.
He's sitting there like, no, the canary, though, is the happy one. I wasn't saying about the person. He's more the canary than the person down there.
And yes, O'Brien himself is among the largest violators. He has 110. Also, there's a rule to this. You cannot self-report. Your peers must do it themselves.
Oh, see? Yeah, you got to get caught.
So,
you can't turn yourself in.
Look, it's
there's rules to this. This,
if we had one here, it would fill our walls
in a day.
Yeah.
In a day. Yeah. Well, it fills theirs. They got 6 of these boards. Yeah, we only got 4 walls here.
Yeah.
We can't handle that.
Again, that's what we have the drop board for.
I appreciate Mike O'Brien and the work that he's putting in. This will go down, though, on his official employee record. And look, this happens, too, here, where our sales staff, there are servers with audio clips dating decades. And they get handed down from person to person. And it exists here. I know for a fact that it does exist. That the missteps and misspoken words on these here airwaves, they get saved in perpetuity.
I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
I don't want to try. I was trying to say surprised, but surprised and shocked. I'm imagined.
Surprised. Yeah. Baffled. Confused and baffled.
Oh, I like that.
I don't even know.
I like that one.
I don't even know. I'm just baffled here.
You know who doesn't like words?
Who?
Woody Johnson, owner of the New York Jets. He's angry about the NFLPA survey because he sucked.
I can see why he'd be upset about that.
We'll get to that next year on Danny and Dusty, Today the Fan. Jets owner Woody Johnson sucks. Well, that's at least what the NFLPA players report came out. And
that would be his own players.
Indeed. Jets chairman Woody Johnson was the only owner to receive an F grade in the NFLPA's annual team report card. Woody Johnson dismissed the survey, calling it totally bogus.
Of course.
The whole thing about it is bogus. It's a survey conducted of 1,695 players who graded their respective teams in various categories. Johnson went on to say how they collected the information and who they collected it from. It's supposed to be according to the agreement we have with the league. It's supposed to be a process where we have representatives and they have representatives, so we know it's an honest survey. What's interesting about this is on the NFLPA's website, it explains the methodology, saying it used research experts from an independent group to provide guidance on best practice for conducting the survey. It was administered from August 26th to November 20th and was done online anonymously. Every rostered player at the time of the survey was provided access to the poll. So there's your methodology, dude. Your dudes took part in the poll. You were the only one who got an F.
I don't know how you can honestly say that the survey is skewed when every rostered player on your team took this survey and that's what the results were. Like, you just don't like what the results were. And you can say that, but you can't sit there. Well, actually, Woody Johnson can definitely say it wasn't the actual results of the poll. It was the process of it. It's shenanigans.
Yeah, and so he says that was violated, the process, in my opinion. I'm going to leave it at that, but I think there are a lot of owners that looked at that survey and said this is not fair, it's not balanced, it's not every player, it's not even representative players. It's every freaking player!
Well, you can go one of two ways. You can do what Woody Johnson is doing right now and make a public cry to say, no, it can't be me. My players don't feel that way. Or you can do exactly what the Hunt family did in Kansas City when they got the lowest grade last year, which is they saw the results and they said, what we need to do is we need to treat our players better. And they made an overhaul to how they treated their players this past year.
What's interesting here is
they're going to go back to it because they won a Super Bowl, back-to-back Super Bowls, being bad owners, and then they lost 40-6.
Yeah, that'll happen.
It's what you get for treating your players right.
What's really interesting is after Woody Johnson says that, he says we want to be better every day in every category. We want to be number one in everything. All of our people do. If there are areas we can improve, and I think there are always ways we can improve, not because of the bogus report, we're going to do it. He then goes on to say, it's like, well, then tell me it's bad. Basically, he's saying, well, I'm like, hey, bud, the report card just did that for you. So instead of complaining about it, they did the thing. They told you suck.
Yeah.
Do the things to make it so you don't suck.
What Woody Johnson wants is his players to come and tell him face to face they do not believe he's doing a good job as the owner of the team. That's what he's saying right there. But that's why this is an anonymous surveys, because you can get honest results. Because look, a majority of the guys on your team are not in a position to go to the owner and tell them all of the things that they think are wrong, because guess what happens? You get your ass cut that way.
Yeah, and to that point, there was a Sports Business Journal report last week about the Jets offering voluntary buyouts to 170 of their 250 employees. Johnson said the deadline for that was Monday. There will be no layoffs. They decided to offer buyouts in part to help improve the team's culture.
Okay. So instead of firing people, he wanted to buy them out, give them a parachute, probably with
an
NDA attached to it, saying whatever happened here, you can't talk about publicly. And all right, I see the way he's working here. It's not surprising,
no,
in the slightest. This is exactly why the New York Jets got the rating they did from their players. This is why they are in the largest media market, and they cannot get out of their own way year after year after year. And Woody Johnson, the results speak for themselves with the organization in the way that it is operated. They are a dysfunctional organization, and this just kind of backs up the results of the survey, what their fans, what people on the outside, fans of the NFL looking at the Jets think. All of it is just being magnified with this public outcry that I can't be me. I'm not a bad owner. Yeah, you are, man.
This is a lot of the my T-shirt is doing a bad job of answering the questions, kind of a deal. Like, yeah, I'm not the bad owner. Yeah, no, you are.
Yeah. All right. Well, in a surprising twist, billionaire owner,
Not good.
heir of Johnson & Johnson, out of touch. Shocking.
No tears.
I am shocked by this turn of events here. I can't believe that this has happened.
Did you think it was no tears or no tears?
For what?
The Johnson & Johnson shampoo?
The no more tears.
No
Yeah.
tears.
For a long time when I was a kid, I was
You
no,
thought
no
it was
tears.
no tears?
Oh, it's all in the jingle on the commercials.
Yeah. No regrets either, you know? I have no regrets.
I was like, oh, you tear your hair, you know? It's
Yeah.
good. It's good. Makes your hair strong.
It can be hard.
Huh.
It can be hard, you know?
Look, I was a little kid.
Read red,
Yeah.
tears tear.
It happens.
Yeah, who knows?
You know what happens? The Portland Trailblazers losing games as they've been stacking up losses lately.
Not enough.
They went to New York for game 2 of the road trip, and, well, the math is mathing, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get to that here in hour number 3 on Danny and Dusty, 10 to the Fan.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, losers of each of their last 4 games. The Trailblazers road trip continues tomorrow in Atlanta against the Hawks. Portland now 32-43 on the season. With just 7 games remaining, they're 4.5 games out of the final play-in spot and a half game ahead of the Spurs for the 8th worst record in the league. ESPN's Shams Charania reporting Sun star Kevin Durant expected to miss at least a week with a left ankle sprain. That'll run through the team's upcoming 3-game road trip. The Suns are a game and a half out of the play-in with the league's toughest remaining schedule. Over in college football, Stanford announcing this morning they've hired former NFL head coach Frank Reich as their interim head coach for the 2025 season, after which the school will find a permanent replacement for Troy Taylor. Taylor was let go last week amid findings he had bullied female athletic department staffers. After a 4-game split with the Athletics, the Mariners now welcome in the Tigers for a 3-game set. Emerson Hancock on the hill for Seattle, opposite Jackson Jobe for Detroit. 6:40 first pitch on Root Sports. Still a couple of games underway in the Bigs, and good news for the Brewers. They have pushed one across the plate. The bad news is they're headed to the bottom of the 9th, trailing the Royals 11-1. Bottom of the 8th in Baltimore, the Orioles lead the Red Sox 7-3, and bottom 7 in Philadelphia, the Rockies with a 1-0 lead over the Phillies. And we got one final from earlier, the White Sox shutting out the Twins 9-0. Martin Perez with 6 no-hit innings, giving up 3 walks and striking out 9. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Russ from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. This is Danny and Dusty.
It's not your problem, Doc. You don't have to mix up in this.
That is a hell of a thing for you to say to me.
With Danny Meringue and Dusty, the Fan Man Hera.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, skin it. Skin that smoke wagon and see what happens.
Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and 1080.
I'm your huckleberry.
The Fan.
Hour number 3 here on Danny and Dusty on a Monday. Whether listening on 1080 AM, watch going on youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan or twitch.tv/1080 AM The Fan. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for hanging out with us on this wonderful, wonderful Monday. And if you are Team Tank, things are going well for you with the Portland Trailblazers. Game 2 of the road trip after falling to the Sacramento Kings, they take on the New York Knicks. And after a scorching hot first half from Denny Avdia, the Blazers bench can give them next to nothing. 4 total points. They're outscored 23-4 by the Knicks. Oh boy, that's not going to get it done. And they end up falling 110-93, managing just 15 points in the fourth quarter.
I thought that there was a chance they were going to win that game.
The way Denny was playing, yeah.
I look up, and it's like they're just not taking him out of games, trying to win. But then they were just like, all right, we're going to surround him with whatever. We're going to put DB Hooper in. We're going to put Duop Reith in. We're just going to roll the ball out and see what happens here. Because
some might call it ethical.
It was ethical. I mean, and you can't say it's a full-on tank because Denny
played 40 minutes.
His month of March was insane. 23, 9.8 rebounds a game, so almost 23 and 10, 5.2 assists per game, and went 51, 46, 81 split shooting. That is crazy.
Over 14 games.
That is a crazy March that Denny put together, and he was the only player in the NBA to average 25 and 5 on 45% or more shooting from 3. That's crazy.
So
it was a great month for him.
Denny had 2 30-point games in his career in Washington. He had 6 already with Portland this year. 5 of them have come this month.
I thought it was he had a very candid answer when he was asked about the young guys stepping up in the future. And he was like, look, everybody wants to just point at Scoot and Shea, but it's been more than them. And you could tell that what he was saying was this was different than Washington.
Yes.
Right? Where development has actually been a point of emphasis. Development has actually happened, and the results kind of have spoke for themselves. Now, it has dramatically hurt the Blazers' odds of getting a high-level draft pick, but from the player side of it, it was honest and candid that, no, look,
we've gotten better.
We have gotten better in a lot of different areas over the course of the season. And if you watch the team, they have. Now that they are out of the playoff hunt, you're starting to see that's probably what we should see moving forward, right?
I think so. And what's really interesting about Denny is, yes, the production has been otherworldly. No, I don't expect him to come in next year and average 23, 10, and 5.
I do.
But 20 points, 7 boards, 4 assists, I think that's on the menu.
Yeah.
Which, if you're a 20.5 rebound, 5 assist guy at 6'9", you got the goods.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty damn impressive. But even more than that, I think you're
better than Bub Carrington and Malcolm Brogdon.
Yeah. And the second best pick you could have in 2029.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still don't.
Of 3.
Yes.
Second of 3.
So Denny's become not only the best player on the team, but he's becoming the face of the team. Because number one, Shaden can't and won't do that. He will not be the voice of the team. Mm-mm. Scoot can, but he's got to be better. Denny has the right profile of being good, but also being very good with the media. He's very thoughtful. He doesn't just get out there and spit out platitudes. He's very honest. He's very thoughtful in like what he says and how he says it. A lot of times when you ask him a question, he'll ask a clarifying question. Just to like, let me make sure I'm understanding. Number one, it's English as a second language, which I think people tend to forget because Denny speaks English so well. But talking to everybody in Washington after the trade got made, they said you will love him like unabashedly as a human, but he is the most team-oriented guy you will ever be around. And as great as Denny has been, he will trade his individual production if it means they win. He doesn't. He's doing this because this is what's being asked of him. And what I don't think people know, I tweeted about this the other night. Most of what Denny does is not Chauncey Billups calling it from the bench. It is in transition, semi-transition, or recognizing a mismatch.
Yeah.
They are not running a ton of stuff for him. And yet he's still this productive and this efficient.
It's been really fun to see his growth, his development over the year. I think Toumani Camara also, undeniably, you can look at those two guys and you can say, all right, the trades that Joe Cronin in the front office made to acquire those two guys.
Fantastic.
Remember, 2 was a throw-in to the DeAndre Ayton trade. Now, it wasn't just a throw-in for Phoenix because they liked him.
Yeah, and Portland would not do the deal without Toumani Camara.
And so that trade, it is really damn good right now. The freight at the time seemed like a lot for Denny Avdia. It's not anymore because of the production that you have seen. Those two guys, though, their success is going to be tied to the next player that is added to this and what that looks like. And, we talk about it till we're blue in the face that May 12th cannot come fast enough. And, we are a month and a half away from the NBA draft lottery, and the season is winding down, and the Blazers are picking up losses left and right, which is a good thing for them getting those 8th best lottery odds to potentially jump up and try to make a move into the top 4.
And for those wondering, Portland currently has the 9th best lottery odds. They are a half game ahead of the San Antonio Spurs.
All right.
And the team in front of them or behind them, however you want to place it, Chicago is at 10th. The Blazers play both of those teams. Those are wildly important games when you're talking about this stuff. I think Chicago is really pressing to try to play well to make it past the play-in, like make it into the playoffs. Like that, Chicago's beat the brakes off a couple teams lately. San Antonio, they've been frisky, but they also got absolutely slaughtered by the Cavs.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting run for the Spurs here too, because they have some games against teams that are trying to jockey for position. Orlando coming up tomorrow, I think they play Orlando. And then they have Denver, which obviously the
seeding
chunk in the West is
God knows where.
And then they have Cleveland, and then they get the Blazers, but then they have the Clippers, Warriors, and Suns. All of those teams are trying to win basketball games right now because of the way that the Western Conference is loaded up at the top. And look, Phoenix, they're still trying to get in. That Kevin Durant injury, night. I think they're done.
And here's what's also interesting. Kevin Durant has to play, I believe, 4 of the final 5 games
Oh, really?
to make All NBA, to hit a 65-game threshold.
I watched that game on NBA TV last night.
Oh, my
the Suns Rockets game.
God, did they get crushed.
I've never seen. Well, actually, I have. I've watched the Blazers the last 2 seasons. Roll over quite like this, like a team that is in contention and has something on the line. I've not seen a team roll over like the Phoenix Suns did last night.
Crazy.
It was
crazy work.
Like, and I say about the Blazers because Blazers haven't been playing for anything. Like, that is to be expected. That was a game where they just went, whatever. And Mike Budenholzer looked lost. Like, that stare, like he was just looking up at the 300 level the entire game. That was a rough game to watch by any measure. And I'm not a Suns fan. I was just watching it going, whoa.
The Suns fans were actively booing the Suns.
They should have.
I mean, it was bad.
It was really bad. And Dylan Brooks gets thrown out.
He campaigned for that one.
That was funny. I thought that was funny.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Like, it's Dylan Brooks, but everybody's like, oh, I've seen some people say, oh, the refs shouldn't have thrown him out. I'm like, he said the magic words to the refs 3 times, guys. Like,
yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I think he had somewhere to be in Scottsdale.
Yeah, no, he 100% deserved to get run. There was no doubt about it.
The best, Bill Kennedy was on fire, too.
Oh, God, he was great.
He was, because they went and they reviewed it. If you don't know what happened, Kevin Durant was driving through the lane. Dylan Brooks got physical with him. There was a whistle. They jostled back and forth.
Little tussle.
And KD does what KD does, which is probably said, what are you even doing?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yes.
You know? And Dylan Brooks fired back, did hold me back, bro, went after KD, and he ended up cussing at the refs. He gets run.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, you can say a lot of things to the refs, but when it's bleep you,
yeah,
not what the bleep. You can drop the bleep. It's okay. But when it's directed directly at the official, automatic T every single time. Every single time.
Well, when they went to review, Bill Kennedy,
the king,
became a star.
There are a number of technical fouls have been issued. Technical foul on Durant. Technical foul on Richards. And 2 technical fouls on Brooks. And he has been ejected.
Bill Kennedy is the king of replays. He knew exactly who was on, but he's like, let me pause for a little.
Dramatic pauses after Durant, Suns player in Phoenix. Dramatic pause on Richards, Suns player in Phoenix. And then, oh wait, who did we just throw out of the game? Oh yeah, Dylan Brooks.
The king. Bill Kennedy is the king of replays. Nobody does it better. I don't know if you caught the NCAA tournament refs trying to do that. We're going to review. And I was like, brother, have you done this before?
No, I like it.
The big lights, they're not for everybody. Bill Kennedy shines under them.
I will say this. We were talking about the Blazers start. This text on the fan text line came in. Blazers are in the race for Con Knippel. I started this charge last week. Folks, we need to temper this down a little bit. All right?
The white guy from Duke, that's the one they want.
Push the brakes on this. Con Knippel, he may get himself out of that 7 to 10 range.
He is, for everybody that I have talked to, he is locked in as a top 10 pick.
Okay. Well, hey, don't. We need to temper these expectations a little bit, all right? Maybe we should start talking less about Con Knippel and more about Cooper Flagg's stock may be falling.
He did have a rough game.
16 points?
Yeah.
Well, where was he?
That's a number one pick.
Don't look at anything else. Don't look at no other stat there. But we need, hey, maybe Cooper Flagg isn't that guy. All right? This is what we need to do. We need to have Cooper Flagg's stock come down a little bit. Stop talking about Con Knippel, all right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right? This team needs shooters, okay? If the Blazers are going to win too many games to go up and jump into the Cooper Flagg sweepstakes.
As an aside, the Blazers shot 9 of 36 from 3 last night.
Con Knippel can fix that.
Not the worst pick. All right, coming up next, we will pivot back to NCAA basketball, coming out of the Elite Eight and setting up our Final Four run. We'll dive back into that next here on Danny and Dusty, Danny the Fan.
Check out the
The NCAA tournament on the men's side has lived up to the billing this year. Some people casting stones at Jay Billis when he did his bracket and had all 4 1 seeds going all the way to the Final Four.
Bold picks, Jay.
Well, he was right. And as we talked about earlier in the show, the KenPom ratings of these teams that are in this Final Four are historic.
Yeah, all 4 are in the top 10 all-time of season ratings for KenPom, which is a metric that is used. It's not the end-all be-all, but it is one of the metrics that they use when seeding the tournament. And so it's supposed to show overall output and performance of a team. And so all 4 of these teams have been historically good. And like, that's the thing. I don't understand that when people say the analyst brackets and they're like, oh, whoa, way to go. Real good one there. Well, do you want him to pick the teams that he thinks is going to win, or do you want him to pick some crazy upsets because that's what you want to see? I think Jay Billis is going, I think these are the best teams in college basketball, and they have been over the course of the season. I don't think there wasn't like that team should have been a 1 that ended up a 2, because in conference tournament play, every team that showed that they had the potential to be a 1 showed why they are 2. Tennessee especially.
Yeah, especially with the way their offense and that was always the knock on Tennessee this year. Great defensive team, offensively, they can sputter.
Yeah. And so we have the 4 best teams heading into the tournament, have continued to be that. And I think that as it has gone on at the very beginning of this, everybody looked at Florida and Duke and said, those are probably the 2 best teams in the nation heading into the tournament. There is no other reason to think otherwise from what we've seen through round of 64, 32, 16, and 8.
I mean, if you want to put Houston, Auburn is the one out. Like when you're talking about, and they've been great, but the only reason I'm saying that about Auburn is because their best player, Janai Broome, sprained his knee, ankle, and his elbow all on one play.
Still think he's going to be a Blazer because of that.
And I've seen some people say, oh, he's a first-round pick. Like, sure, if you're talking like the 28th or 29th or 30th. Like,
or 8th.
Yeah, that's definitely not happening. But, yeah, don't get me wrong. He's a great college player, and he's probably going to be a solid pro.
He is.
Like, the whole idea about, like, not drafting older players, we're past that now. Like, if you're a team picking at the back of the draft, you sometimes want to pick those players because you're in a title window or you're building towards that. And so you want that ready-made guy. If you're picking earlier, you've got a lot more runway to work with, and you're thinking more about the upside.
Yeah.
So
I think, and that sucks for Bruce Pearl. It sucks for Auburn that Broome goes down because
he did come back to the game, as crazy as that was.
But you need him to get fully healthy in 6 days. And that's going to be a big ask, especially when you have to play the Florida Gators in the Final Four.
Put in that call to LeBron James for that cryo chamber.
Boy. Oh, that's what it is. And right now, as we said earlier, Florida's 2.5-point favorites in that game.
That feels low.
It does because of his health. If that number that's a great number to keep an eye on, because if that thing starts growing, it's because people in Vegas have found out his status.
Yep, and that he's good, or if it goes down.
I don't think it's going to move from 2.5, but if it starts if we have more than like a 2-point jump in that thing, if Florida gets to like 4.5, that means there's some serious questions about Janai Broome. And that's where the money should be right now is on Florida, because the way that they finished off Texas Tech, look, it was a little alarming to have a team that is supposed to be dominant struggle and be down 9 with 2 minutes and 50 seconds to go in the game.
Tech's also really good.
What they ended up doing was putting the nail in the coffin with every misstep that Texas Tech made. They made them pay. And Walter Clayton Jr. was a big reason for that, scoring 8 of their last 12 points. And look, Grant McCaslin is going to have some nightmares over the way that game finished, but that's what great teams will do. They had 2 of their studs, didn't have it on Saturday. They get some time now. They're going to get it back, and they had their 2 other studs carry the way in the final 2.5 minutes.
And now we're on a collision course, hopefully, for me, selfishly, for Duke, Florida. But look, I'm not throwing Houston out, but the way that they play defense, man, they're going to try to. You want to talk? We talked about this, the over-unders of games in the Sweet 16. 136.5
for that Texas Tech Duke game. That points are going to be hard to come by on both ends of the floor. Duke obviously has an advantage, just sheer size and skill. And the freshmen aren't blinking, man. The freshmen are playing outstanding basketball for Duke.
That game is easily of the two is the one that I'm most excited to watch.
Yeah,
because the styles are just going to be incredible. Like if you're going to sit there and try to press that massive Duke team, Common Malawach, did you see how often he got free down the lane and they found him for lobs?
Yeah, well, that's like Cooper Flagg just starts steamrolling down the lane, and then all of a sudden defense is like, oh, no, the best player in the country. Whoop, ball goes up towards the rim.
And you're going, oh, that's right. They have that 7'3" guy that's a rim runner. It's tough to overcome when their starting lineup goes 6'6", 6'6", 6'7", 6'10", 7'2".
This is a really tough problem for John Shire because Shire has the most talented team in the country. No doubt about it.
And they fit together the best.
He is getting proper credit right now for what he is doing in game and what he has done to prepare these guys. But I feel like he'll never get the credit for how well he has coached in this tournament because of how good the talent is on his team. He's got 3 freshmen
that play massive roles.
And those guys don't look like they're even the best coaches in college basketball over the history of the game, whether it is, Coach K, Roy Williams, Self, Pitino, Izzo, Calipari.
They've had freshmen that they won't play or they won't trust in moments.
And in some of those moments, they're not ready for it, right? And he's got 3 of them, though.
And they're ready every time.
In that, to have all 3 of them ready every game, that's coaching too.
Because remember,
he's done an incredible job.
Shire got killed in the first month of the season for empowering those guys.
Yeah.
And they made their mistakes. Remember Cooper Flagg with the big turnover games that lost them the couple games that they dropped this year.
The Kentucky game early.
Yep. Had 3 turnovers in the final minute.
I think people should remember that because that means he's like around 8 to 10 range. Yeah. I mean, we'll check back in a month and a half.
Yeah. It all depends on where the Blazers end up.
8 to 10 range. I wouldn't say that. Whoa. I mean, not just we'll see in a month and a half where that is. But right now, I'm saying like 8 to 10 seems about right for him. People forget those turnovers.
It happens.
But you're right about Cooper Flagg at the beginning to where he's at now. He has grown a ton, and I think people do forget the guy should be a high school senior right now.
That's the crazy thing about this. I've never seen a kid with that kind of poise at that age. It's creepy.
He's the players are really damn good. So is the coach. And with all that said, Kelvin Sampson is probably just going to put him in a torture chamber, and
it's going to be a really good ugly game.
It is going to become a bloodbath where physicality. That's the other thing.
Please, refs, stay out of this.
Why do I?
Please stay out of this. Do not put these guys in foul trouble. Let them play. Let them play.
We talked about this on Friday, right? This Duke team, you're sitting there and you're like, they're really likable.
They are.
They're really likable.
They're not Dad's Duke team.
Oh, man. And that's the thing about these guys, though, is that if this game gets physical and it gets nasty, it's not going to be like Coach K lobbying with the officials and then getting all the calls. They're going to fight back.
Yeah, no,
I love Duke.
Oh, God, it's so good. No, they're a physical team, too. They're not going to shy away from contact.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy is usually you see the young guys get bullied around. You aren't like Con Knippel's built like a fire hydrant. You're not pushing him around. Cooper Flagg is the dog at him per 36 is the highest score I've ever given a high school kid going into college. And Malawach is 7'2", 7'3". Like, what are you going to do with him?
You know what I hope we don't see this week is Coach K starting to come around, and people are reaching out, and that's one thing I really appreciate about Coach K, what he's done this year.
Stayed back and let Shire do it.
He has stayed back, and he's just been like, we don't hear boo from him.
He wears his West Point gear to games.
Well, yeah,
just
he's a West Point man.
But he makes sure like, hey, no, this is Shire's team.
I think that's a really cool thing because it's a hard thing to do for a legendary coach.
And you got to imagine the ego is probably playing a part too.
He's doing a phenomenal job with that.
Speaking of doing phenomenal jobs, the Detroit Pistons, they are doing a phenomenal job of bringing back the Bad Boys. We'll get to that next here. But first, here's the big Kahuna Sports Center update.
You mind if I have some of your tasty beverage to wash this down?
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, losers of now each of their last 4 games. The Trailblazers road trip continues tomorrow in Atlanta against the Hawks. The Blazers are 32-43 on the season. With just 7 games remaining, they are 4.5 games out of the final play-in spot and a half game ahead of the Spurs for the 8th worst record in the league. Stanford announced this morning they've hired former NFL head coach Frank Reich to be their interim head coach for the 2025 season. After which the school will find a replacement for Troy Taylor, who was let go last week amid findings he had bullied female athletic department staffers. Over on the Diamond, a 4-game split with the A's. Now the Mariners welcome in the Tigers for a 3-game set. Emerson Hancock starting for Seattle. Jackson Jobe for Detroit. 6:40 first pitch on Root Sports. There's still 1 game underway in the Bigs. Bottom of the 8th from Philadelphia, and the Phillies with a 4-1 lead over the Rockies. Some finals from earlier. White Sox shut out the Twins 9-0. Martin Perez with 6 no-hit innings, giving up 3 walks and striking out 9. The Royals all over the Brewers 11-1. Now in their first 4 games this season, Milwaukee has been outscored 47-15. And the Orioles just finishing off the Red Sox 8-5. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Russ from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
More, please. Golf in the Northwest with Jason Swigart is back. Saturdays at 8 a.m. before the Sinner and the Saint on Portland's Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan.
Last night in the association, watching along at K2 in the Blazers game, and I've got my laptop going around the league, see what's kind of going on. Minnesota-Detroit turns into a whole-on fist fight that falls into the stands. And it started because, shockingly, earlier in the game, Isaiah Stewart, Beef Stew, instigating, getting a technical foul, being rough, being what he is. He's the best instigator in the league. Don't get it twisted. That's what he is there to do. That's not all he is. He's a very, very, very good rim protector. Remember when the Pistons played here, he had 5 blocks. And it was like, quit trying him. Chauncey Billups even mentioned it in the postgame. Yeah, we figured out later in the game, maybe stop going right at him.
Seems like a good choice.
But what ended up happening was a few possessions later, rookie Ron Holland gets a strip foul on Naz Reid driving to the rim. It is the most simple, basic, run-of-the-mill foul that I've ever seen lead to a player being irritated. Naz Reid comes back at rookie Ron Holland, wagging his finger in his face, clearly irritated because he's been instigated by Beef Stew, but he goes at the rookie, and then Dante DiVincenzo comes up and bodies up the rookie, and it turns into a full-on fracas.
Now, I like Dante DiVincenzo coming in there, though. He was hot.
He was, but also,
hot.
If you want to go hot, go at Beef Stew. That's what he's there for.
Well, not Dante DiVincenzo. Why would he do that?
No, I mean, why is he
because he's going to protect his guy.
But why is Naz Reid going at Ron Holland for doing nothing?
Well,
you want to be irritated?
He's Naz Reid.
Well, no, you want to be irritated? You want to get into
getting all hot on Naz Reid. Nobody has an opinion on Naz Reid, and Danny's hot.
No, it's not Naz Reid. It's you went for the young kid.
Yeah.
You want smoke? There's a guy 10 feet away who has all the smoke.
That's why he didn't go to that smoke.
But that's my point. That's my point.
Why are you so mad?
Because I hate this. Don't pick on the young guy. Don't pick on the young guy, big boy. The other big guy's over there waiting for you. And then it gets to the floor, and it gets into a whole-on melee. There's some sucker punches thrown at Ron Holland.
Yeah.
In the bottom of the pile. Ron Holland gets up, and his face is beat up.
Yeah, that was an actual
full-on fight.
Yeah, we had it was a real
and Ron Holland did nothing. Ron Holland did nothing. It was the most innocuous foul I've ever seen.
I love how upset you are right
now.
Man,
this is what I love about hockey. Hockey has a code.
Yeah.
You want smoke? He's right there. You don't go after the kid.
Stop yelling.
I don't like it. Don't pick on the kid. There's a guy.
We don't know what Ron Holland was saying through the entire game.
We got every angle of that whole possession. Naz Reid was out of pocket.
Yeah, well, I don't doubt that.
Like, you're irritated. Look, like I said, there's another guy over there whose main job is to make sure you're irritated.
Yeah.
No, don't be wrong. Ron Holland is about that life.
Well, isn't that kind of Naz Reid too, though? He's an agitator as well?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, so I think he's...
But don't go after the kid.
Yeah, well,
don't go.
Gotta learn.
Look,
unwritten rules of basketball.
Ron Holland's not afraid. He's a tough, hard-nosed kid.
Yeah.
But there was nothing in that foul.
Yeah.
That should have led to that reaction.
Absolutely
nothing.
No. Unless there's been some John back and forth between them throughout the course of the game, and I think the bigger thing that I took out of that is that like the Pistons are back to like the identity of the Pistons.
Oh,
that's something Isaiah Stewart has been saying for a while now. Is like, no, we are picking back up the bad boy Pistons to the Chauncey Billups, Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace, Rip Hamilton, Tayshaun Prince Pistons. Like, no, we're back to that because that's the identity of this franchise.
Of this city.
I like that when you have a young team who's gone through it. And look, make no mistake, that Pistons team has had their teeth kicked in for years. Like, I saw this. They became the first team in NBA history that has tripled their win percentage, their win total from one year to the next.
Yeah.
14 wins a year ago. They picked up their 42nd. I think it was on Friday night.
Guaranteed an above 500 season.
That is incredible. And
Trajan Langdon has done a hell of a job.
They've done a coaching change. Everything has kind of worked and clicked this year, and they went through the Shawshank poop tunnel to get to where they're at right now. And that's it's toughened their skin because they're ready for that. And Isaiah Stewart, like, for him to play the way he does, he's only 6'8".
Yeah, but he's big.
But he is a rim protector. let's see, an undersized big who is really good at the rim, Ben Wallace, right? Like, they have this identity of a throwback Pistons team. That's what I took out of this. Like, Naz Reid is going to Naz Reid, and Minnesota's going to be irrelevant. You know? Like, that's it. What I saw was this Pistons team is going to take guff from nobody.
Look, I don't want to play. If I'm in the East, I don't want to play that team.
No.
They're going to pull you down into the mud. And it's going to be nasty and it's going to be ugly. I love what the Pistons are doing. Look, I have been campaigning for years. Circling back to Dylan Brooks. I don't want Dylan Brooks within 1,000 miles of Portland. He is the wrong, like, don't get me wrong. He is one of probably like 15 guys in the NBA where winning every night matters. And I love that about him. Every game matters. Like, I talk all kinds of junk about Dylan Brooks. There are qualities about him that I love.
Yeah.
His
that's one of
toughness
them.
and getting under people's skin.
Yep.
Look, I'm even okay with occasionally having a crash out. Like, I think you need to have one or two a year. Like, if you're that guy, if you're a little bit crazy, because it's a tone setter. And it's also, I've said this so many times about Draymond. Nobody in their right mind and nobody has ever done it, has hard fouled Steph Curry once. Yeah. Because Draymond will knock your teeth out.
Yeah, he will.
And it's a protection layer. It's like what's his name with Gretzky, McSorley. McSorley was going to murder you if you came anywhere near Wayne Gretzky. That's the franchise. You don't touch that. And you have this guy that is you want a toughness throughout your team. Some guys just aren't going to be as tough as others.
No.
But a guy like Beef Stew, even a guy like Dylan Brooks, you're okay with the occasional crash out because of, like, yeah, he's got us. He's got our back. You always want to have that guy that has your back no matter what, those ride or dies. But there's levels to the crash out. It's like,
And it is appearing that first round matchup is going to be Indiana and Detroit.
And Indiana's a tough team too, man.
That's going to be a fun matchup.
I think
those two teams
develop some rivalry there.
And we need it desperately in the NBA. Last thing. Did you see the kid who was sitting courtside who got caught up in all of it? Dude, this kid was just like sitting courtside. Me and Dad were at the game. And then all of a sudden there is like 600 pounds of NBA player just a pile goes right into him. They gave him a jersey. They're like, hey, man, we're really sorry. The things that you heard and had to be a part of,
because there's the video from a foot away. Oh, there's a video from like a guy sitting right there.
And get your guard up.
And
get your guard up.
And the best thing about it was JB Bickerstaff went after Pablo Prigioni. I mean, just lost his mind. It was like, oh, it's the whole team. Like, they're all crazy. And it's great. I love it. Absolutely love it. JB Bickerstaff has been magical in Detroit.
Yeah, it's
a perfect marriage.
It's a breath of fresh air to have him back. Who is Pablo Prigioni?
Former San Antonio Spur and coach for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Oh.
Yeah. You'd know him as soon as you saw him.
Really?
Yeah.
Pablo Prigioni is the coach
I'm
of
sorry,
the Timberwolves?
not Spur. Well, it might have been Spurs. With the Knicks, too.
Oh.
So.
Wow.
You'd know him if you saw him.
Well, let me look. Yeah,
I remember the name.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't think I could probably pick him out of a lineup, even if he was holding a sign that said, I'm Pablo Prigioni.
Nah, you'd be surprised.
Oh, but he's an assistant coach for the Minnesota Timberwolves. All right.
Coming up next, we'll wrap up today's show with some baseball nuggets here on Danny Dusty, 10 the Fan.
It's time for Legends of Hoop, an inside look at the college basketball championships. Brought to you by Legends Casino Hotel, within winning distance.
I didn't get any diagnosis. When Janai came out of the locker room, I hadn't talked to the doctor, but I just asked him, are you good to go? He said, I am. I said, well, get your ass in there.
You got to love it. Bruce Pearl, Auburn head coach on Janai Broome. And look, Broome coming back into that game, after watching that fall, I didn't think there was any chance that he was coming into that game. He even told the staffer from the sideline he was done.
No, yeah, and look, even the minutes that he gave,
they needed every last second.
They did. He's going to need a lot more come Saturday because they've got a big test in front of them with the Florida Gators.
Legends of Hoop is brought to you by Legends Casino Hotel. Escape to Legends Casino Hotel within winning distance. It's a short drive to Tompkins, Washington. The ultimate destination for fun and relaxation, legendscasino.com.
Hello, sport.
As we get out of here, a couple baseball nuggies. Jeff Rust, what did Rafael Devers end up with here?
When he's 0 for 19, I believe, to start the season with 15 strikeouts.
That's a record, Bob.
That's stinky, and that's why you're not playing third base.
Well, look, that's just how fickle being a baseball player can be.
That's why he's not playing third base. He's the designated hitter.
Well, it's the mental side of the game. Like, he thought he was the franchise player. He thought he was the guy who got to call a shot. They signed Bregman. Bregman gets obviously he's going to play third base, and he's a mental mess right now, and that's something to watch with the old Boston Red Sox. They need to trade him ASAP, but that is a record for most strikeouts. He set the record for most strikeouts through the first 3 games of the season with 12.
And I'm imagining that he just pushed that record out through through 4. 15 through 4, probably.
Yeah.
Record.
Also, should be noted here, the whole thing over the torpedo bats. Remember when we were talking torpedo bats? I said, maybe, just maybe, it isn't the bat. It might be that the Brewers kind of suck at pitching.
What's the score?
They lost 11-1 to the Kansas City Royals at home today. Salvador Perez went yard. They gave up 2 more home runs today. Turns out, Yankees lineup, good.
Also,
Brewers pitching,
not
bad.
Brewers outscored 47-15 on the season so far, through 4 games.
Yeah, I also got a Pirates stat for you. The Pirates became the first team to be walked off in their first 3 losses of the season since the 1924 Pittsburgh Pirates.
Some franchises just have it going, man.
All right, that does it for us on a Monday. We'll get to Mariners stats tomorrow because, boy. That does it for us today. Up next, you got 4 hours of power from their mouths to your ears. It's prime time with Isaac and Souk. Have a great Monday, everybody.
Bye.
There's no substitute for intimacy and spending time together and getting to know one another.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention, which is why